Weird Wednesdays, Power Podcast.
Shadow people tonight. Interesting one because it's not a topic that I've really gone into much. I went through a phase. Is shadow people just another term for spirits people, like people seen in their peripheral vision? And then I hear more stories that people claim that they've seen them face on and things. So who wants to start this one? I think Joe it was his suggestion.
Oh, okay. That's fine. We could do that.
It was your suggestion to do this last week. So
I'm Dr. Darkside, by the way, as you can see.
Yeah.
I almost used Umbra Spectre. But
yeah.
I figured Umbra will probably be used, so I just went with this. So shadow people. What the question is, what are they, right?
That's the
I don't.
Yeah.
Somebody told me once that shadow people are actually ghosts that don't have enough energy to manifest completely.
That's what I usually say.
Yeah, that's when people ask me. That's what I say. But they could be so many different things. They could be.
You literally just said one of the. As I said, I've got a list of about 12 things, and that was one of the things I'd written down. Could it be?
Yeah, they could be visitors from another multiverse. They could be visitors from another dimension. There's all sorts of possibilities because we just don't know. Now I've seen since 1987, my first real investigation, I have seen tons of shadow people. Be them just a bar of shadow moving around or a person-looking thing standing there. There's so many different ways that they show up. A blob, a big old blob in the corner of a room, moving along the roof line up there in the ceiling, that kind of thing. I've seen lots and lots of different things. So the question is, what is a shadow person? I've got some stories here that I picked up off the web of some interesting things. Which experience that Carl and I were just talking that a lot of times when I'm doing an investigation, like when I'm with my group out in California, we did some stuff at at a library there. And one of the things I was just mentioning to Carl is we used to see little diamond shaped black and white flickers all over the floor. And
you
it
was
wasn't
actually
just me that saw
in that library when I first met you, Joe.
Yeah. And
that was one of the first lives I'd ever seen of yours was at the library.
Yeah, that was the Corona Public Library there on Main Street in Corona. But we got invited because they'd have an activity. But the library was built on an old park. And on that old park, there was a guy that was murdered because he was saying that this business was his when in fact it belonged to another organization. And he got put out of everyone's misery. And the other one was a doctor who shot himself twice.
Oh, that's right.
Shot himself in the head once, and he survived. And he looked across the way and saw mom and her daughter across the street looking at him aghast. So he's like, and he shot himself again. That time he wiped himself out, but he was a doctor in town. They think he had stomach cancer or something like that because he was always in pain. Just always in pain, and he just needed to put himself out of it. But he did it in the park instead of someplace a little more private. But those were two, and there was a little boy named that we always called Stephen because that's the name that would come up there.
Stephen, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, little boy named Stephen, and he would giggle if we were in the kids section of the library and we were talking. You'd hear this little boy giggling. Everyone would hear it with their ears. And he'd be in there giggling and laughing at us because he thought what we were saying was funny. but it was just absolutely cute as all get out. So, that was always nice. Could never figure out who he was. He was there. And that's the name that would come up with the medium and other people like that.
At least he was enjoying himself.
Oh, yes, he was. He enjoyed himself. The guy that got shot by the organization, he was back in the adult nonfiction section. And the first time I walked past him, he's standing right against the wall in the corner. And the first time I walked past him, I got a flash of a man with this dark hair slicked back with oil. And he was wearing, he had a very pencil thin mustache. He had a white shirt with a very thin black tie and a black suit coat on.
All that's missing is the violin case.
Exactly. Well, that's supposedly who he was killed by. The people that carried violin cases. But he's 1930s, 1940s style. It's how he was dressed. Go ahead. Oh yeah, definitely. Hopefully it's going to be good for you. But that was him. That was the first thing I picked up off him. And other people got the same basic thing as they walked by, the same style of dress and all that. So we figured out who he was. And for the life of me, I can't remember his name right now, but we knew who he was. And he was rather active in our public investigations at the library, which was quite cool because he would help us with our demonstrations and stuff, make things go off, make things happen. That was really cool. But there were several that we ran across in the library, in the downstairs portion of the library, where they had conference rooms. They had some computers set up. They had meeting rooms, things like that. And we could go down there, and there were shadow figures that would pop up along the walls. In the utility room where the heating system was, heating and air conditioning system, you could walk in there and there was a bunch of big equipment. And there were a lot of times when you could look around and there'd be something moving along over the equipment above your head. You'd see a bar of black, vertical black, just moving it along really fast. You see that quite a bit. And of course, upstairs in the stacks where they had the books, you'd see people walking around and cutting corners real fast. Like they were interested in what you were doing, but they didn't really want to, be there
now,
show you.
You saying that it's making me wonder: were they shadow people? Were these actually spirits there, or going back to one of our live streams from a couple of months ago? Were they time slips?
Could have been, but the guy that just shot himself, the doctor, he was always there downstairs. So
I
think he was.
I remember you saying he was actually an intelligent Hulk, weren't he?
He was, and so was the guy in the nonfiction section, the guy that got shot. He was also an intelligent spirit because he was helping us with our investigations. Stevie was the same thing. He was an intelligent spirit because he was laughing at our jokes and laughing at what we were doing.
Yeah.
But the shadow people, they weren't always there, and you weren't always able to find them in the same spot you saw one the last time. So I kind of think they were both shadow figures, and they were both and the spirits and all sorts of stuff. A lot of stuff happened in that park where that library was built. So
So you saying that? Me mentioning that it's only literally just could shadow people be a time slip that's in process of manifesting? But because as Ian said multiple times, the world is so busy nowadays, it's like 1,000,000 miles an hour nowadays, that we can't relax our minds enough or relax our vibrations enough for it to come in. So we're just seeing as it's starting to fade in.
Don't see why not. It's the same thing as a shadow person being a ghost that doesn't have enough energy to manifest. That's another theory of things like that. So different dimension could be a different time slip or time that they came from. All sorts of different possibilities. It's just, how do we know which one it is, if any of those?
There was one I did mention it in chat earlier, and I can't see it is this, but it did the aspect of it kind of interested me. And it's what in the Bible it says about the watchers coming down, but it never says about them leaving. Could these shadow people be the watchers that are depicted in the Bible?
I've heard that before as well.
Not in the sense that shadow people are biblical, but from back then, 2,500 years ago, it's their explanation of what shadow person is.
Could very well be.
Because when I was doing some video research and some reading research, and in some of the bits I've read, they said that some shadow people stories hark back from before ancient Egyptian times.
Right.
So, and ancient Egyptian times, Jesus-y sort of times are kind of around, within a millennia or so of each other.
In medieval English folklore, there's an awful lot of the Watchers.
Right.
Loads of them, pretty much everywhere in England. Whereas up here and in Ireland, they probably just thought they were fairies or something.
Could well be. As I was saying, I've got a few personal stories. Joe, from all his experiences, will have loads, and you've got loads and all that. But mostly, I've only just got questions and hypotheses really for this, because unless one of them says, right, I'm a shadow person, this is what we are, it is just mostly anecdotal what's out there. The few pictures I've seen of shadow people that are on the web and all that, especially nowadays, that there's movie directors out there that have got one of these and filmed whole movies with one of these and done in camera visual effects with them. Everything's so, especially nowadays, it's so easy to fake. So I've not actually seen one that I can go, yes, definitely a shadow person.
Unless you took it yourself.
Yeah, but even
that's
then,
the problem I've had for years now.
It's that in general with anything paranormal, though, isn't it? Really, unless you know the exact circumstances or you was in the room at the time, you can't even say yeah or no. As I've said before, like the picture, the church in Norwich on Elm Hill, I took that back in 2009. We're now almost in 2026, and I still don't know if it was pareidolia. I don't know if it was a spirit. I don't know if it was a person in the building, even though, as far as I know, the building was shut. I still can't explain it.
That's perfectly good too. But the shadow person isn't the cast shadow.
No, they
for the most part. They are the shadow. It's a bit of darkness, or the shape of a person, bit of darkness, or something like that that's there. And that's what we see.
And you know yourself, whether it be a person that's into the paranormal, whether they're religious, whether they, I don't believe in this sort of thing whatsoever. When you're dead, you worm food. If they see that, automatically the D word comes out.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You'd think we were on a TV show or something.
Yeah. Linda, you said you had a couple of interesting ones.
I
was going to do until after.
We'll start with the furthest back in time, back when I was 2. Lived in a masonette in Bradford. I had spent basically the first 2 years of my life in the hospital, and I was finally allowed home. And it was nice and warm, so Mum was letting me play on the staircase of the masonette. She came out to see if I was okay, and I met her. As she's coming out, I'm coming in. I'm like, there's a man on the stairs wants to talk to you. So Mum went and had a look. There was nobody there. So she's like, come on and play inside, thinking it's just, average creepy human. Because I was only 2. So I'm playing in the living room. And I looks up behind the chair that my dad's sitting in. That man's back again, Mum. Wants to talk to you. Well, I think my dad must have filled his breeks. Because he made a sharp exit from the room. And he couldn't see it, neither could Mum. And Mum's like, oh, what's he look like? So, on what he looked like, Now, bear in mind, at this point in time, I'm 2 years old. I have no idea what a pipe is because apart from the first 6 weeks of my life, I have lived in ICU. And this is my first few weeks home. But he's got a long coat on and he's got a little short cloak on. As Mum says, I was 2. Where the hell I had heard the word cloak, I don't know. And the deerstalker and the pipe. I didn't use the word deerstalker, but I said he had a funny hat that tied up like that.
CJ said something about that when we went similar to that when we went to Saturn Hill. I'll listen to your story and I'll say it's very similar.
So we were sitting, I'm sitting playing. And then Mum says about 10 minutes later, I looked up towards the window and went, Mum's like, where's that man? And I'm like, he's just walked out the window. Now, the weird bit, because that's weird enough. A few weeks later on, there was a pub down in Bradford Town Centre, down in Kirkgate. And they had excavated the basement of the building. The way building was on a corner, you know, like the Ghostbusters buildings on a corner.
Yeah.
But the way they fit these buildings in, the building ends up being shaped like a coffin. So they're excavating the basement. They're finding pikes, round head helmets, all sorts of stuff, right? And what they did is they turned the downstairs bar into the dungeons and had all the bits that they'd found on display in glass top bars. Every time they were ready to open, these glass top bars were smashed the night before. 4 times.
Interesting.
Then when they were ready to go a 5th time, a bunch of journalists were invited to stay the night and record and film and photograph. So they did. They had the pikes all going up the staircase attached to the wall. And on one of the photos, the journalist had taken a photo of the staircase because it's not a spiral staircase, but it did go round in a big circle.
Yeah.
And he took a photo with all the pikes going up the wall. And who stood in the middle of the photo?
This figure.
My little Manny. Because Mum was sat on the floor reading the paper, and I went, Mum, that's that man that wanted to speak to you. That's him there. Now, what we can gather, our maisonette was 2 miles from where this building was. Where this building was, back from medieval times up into early 1800s, was literally the dungeons and the jail cells. So either this guy is the jailer, the warden, or a very well-dressed crim. But what he was doing in our house, we have no idea. We don't know what connects the two. But as I say, I described him as a man, but he wasn't. He was just an outline. He was just a shadow. But he wasn't creeping me out because, I mean, I'd already had 3 or 4 other experiences before I even got home from ICU.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that I pointed him out in the newspaper in a photo that was taken 2 miles away.
That's interesting. As I was saying, there was a kind of a similar situation with CJ. We just moved, it was 2016, we moved into the old house. So it must have been about 2017. So CJ was about 4. We went to Sutton Hoo, and more recently it's come out that Sutton Hoo is where they actually believe the legend of Beowulf came from. Because they found mass graves of a load of Vikings, and because of our psycho Vikings were thought to be only a monster could have like beaten them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I need to look into that because that is still being researched. But we'd gone down to Sutton Hoo. Now at this point, CJ hadn't started nursery yet. Like I said, he was about 3 or 4 years old, and we was down there, and he kept putting his head to the side and looking like a dog would if it's heard something. I'm like, well, what's going on? He goes, I can hear somebody. I went, oh, it's probably somebody over there talking. And they went, no, they're talking not English. I went, oh, it could be just like a visitor or something. He goes, no, but they're standing there and they've got fur coats on. They look like they're dressed like animals.
Oh, excellent.
So, and I have, it's on one of my YouTube channels, but unfortunately I've got about 15, other than this one, I've got about 15 other YouTube channels. I don't know any of the signing details, but it is on, we did actually catch it on video camera and talking about it.
Nice.
And he was saying they're not talking English. He goes, they're laughing, they're joking. He goes, I can smell fire, smell food. And I've got all this on camera. So it's very similar to the situation you had. One thing I was sitting here and I was thinking about tonight, I was wondering if a shadow person, it could be a spirit that doesn't want you to know who they are, but they want you to know that they're there.
Yes,
Yep.
I would agree with that.
Yep, that's another possibility.
My main thing is somebody that doesn't have the energy to show themselves how they want to, or they're purposely keeping themselves in shade.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to ID them.
I was sitting there, it came to me while I was sitting down trying to think of some of the questions for tonight. Joe briefly mentioned, could they be from a different dimension? Could they be... One that I did see that I thought was kind of interesting.
Men in black before they graduate. Sorry.
Men in Black Kindergarten edition. No, I was wondering if it could be that people claim on a regular basis that they can astral project or they can remote view. The CIA experimented vastly on whether psychics can do remote viewing. Could one of these shadow people actually be somebody that's just practicing remote viewing, and you just so happen to have caught them? I don't know if there's a plausible theory.
Yeah, don't see why not. There's so many possibilities. We just don't know, and we'll, as we go along, I'm sure we'll find some of these possibilities that we think of that we're mentioning tonight. It's impossible. Or, gosh, there's more. There's more things that could be. Just don't know.
But I think Ian said it right a few weeks ago when I think this was doing the Haunted Forests. We're so busy in our life nowadays. If you're like driving along a road through a forest, you've got the noise of the car, you've got to concentrate on other cars, you've got maybe your radio, you've got people in the car talking. The world nowadays is so busy visually, mentally, emotionally, you miss out on a lot of what's actually around you. And maybe these shadow people, just that brief moment that your psyche is just, I can relax for a minute. Yeah, you're saying about the library. Are there any other situations that you've had with that sort of thing?
Any other situations?
Yeah, with shadow people, other than at the library.
There were 3 or 4 more at the library in different parts of the place. And the funny thing is, they were there mostly when we were setting up and tearing down. So they were kind of watching what we were doing because we were different. We were doing different things than what normally happened in the evening. That's what I'm guessing. And that's when we mostly saw them. There would be the occasional while we're walking around with the public and things like that. That going around with the public is never a really good investigation. I mean, we all know that because you got people who are asking questions and talking and they're not listening and but it's a good experience for them because they get exposed to, what we do. And we made some good money for the library. So, there was one place that I loved to go investigate, and it was an old cabin. I think I mentioned the cabin to you before. It was a place called Horse Thief Springs.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's where a guide, Kit Carson. There you go.
Yeah.
That was his name.
There you go.
Kit Carson goes out and he's with a couple of his friends and they're on a ride up from San Bernardino up toward where Vegas will eventually be. So they're going up that direction. And they see dust in the distance, and there had been a huge problem for the government and the everybody there. People have been stealing horses and taking them and selling them and whatever.
Yeah.
So Kit Carson sees a bunch of horses riding. They're being guided by other people. So they follow them up this canyon and go all the way up this area, and they see there's a Native American camp up there, and they've got all these horses. So he rides back down with his group, and they go back down and they tell the government about it, the army about it, and this is the people that are stealing the horses, et cetera, et cetera. So they send a troop up there, and they have a big gunfight. The whole 9 yards goes on. And then eventually they get the railroad to build a cabin up there to keep the natives from settling in that area again and hiding out. So they build this cabin out of railroad ties. And it doesn't have any windows at the time. It just has blocks that you can pull out. And you could shoot out of it if you needed to and put the blocks back in and lock them in place. So this place is like that. So if they were ever under attack, they could go inside, be safe from the bullets and whatever, arrows, bullets, whatever they were shooting. So now the place has windows, or used to be where glass was. It's all just hollows where the windows used to be. But that place, I've been up there at all hours of the day. I got there at 10 o'clock one morning, waiting for my friends to get there at noon. We were going to have an investigation. And they didn't show up until almost 8 o'clock that night. So I was there in this haunted location by myself, for, good 10 hours. It was great. But you go inside the cabin, and there were shadow figures there quite often in the corners. You could see them. You bring out the equipment, and I kept getting using my dowsing rods and the FB7, sitting here listening to stuff, asking questions and stuff. I came up with some names, and even a guy with an English accent. And there was on record a guy with an English accent and his daughter were living at that place for a while.
That's very
I don't know at what period of time. I never could find that out, but a lot of people had said that there was an Englishman living up there. But if you go outside, there's shadow figures out there as well, and they were natives. They were Native Americans. The ghosts in that area and the shadows and all that stuff in that area. So you had the people inside the cabin that could see out if they were in our time period. You could see through the windows. But they were during their time when there weren't windows. So they couldn't see out and see what was going on. And the folks outside couldn't look in and see what was going on inside. So this
is why I asked the question. Could it possibly be some form of time slip?
Yeah. In this case, it very well could be. The ghosts that I picked up, they all seemed intelligent because I got names and stuff from them. And I said, with my dowsing rods, where are you standing? And the dowsing rods would point to the wall, another section of the wall, and they point here and they point there, and wherever. So it was kind of cool. And then I went back, but they all stayed in the same place. They weren't moving around. And outside, they were all surrounding the cabin, and they weren't moving around. They were all there, but you could ask, where are you standing? The dowsing rods points this way. Yeah. Always pointed there for that one person. So, and supposedly the chief was up on the hill, or a leader was up on the hill, watching what was going on. So I tried figuring out all sorts of stuff. And when my friends finally got there, we started a normal, massive investigation with all of us, taking turns in the cabin and coming back out, letting the other people go in and investigate. But that place always had spirits. That place always had shadow figures. And it was an awesome place to go.
Next one I've got was I don't know if you can class it as a shadow person as such. Back in 2001, where my oldest boys were little, they used to share a room. And where we lived in a place called Stanford-le-Hope in Essex. It's probably about a 40-minute drive from where I am now. the way it worked, the front door was on ground level, but because it was on a hill, the bedrooms are actually downstairs. And Brandon, he must have been about three or four at the time. He said that he'd seen somebody looking through these bedroom window. And from after that point, we started getting like weird things happening. It's like they was really big into the Power Rangers at the time, and we'd been in Basildon, and we'd gone into Poundland to get some like cleaning materials and all that. And the younger of the two, Kieran, he'd seen a Poundland version of one of the Power Rangers, so I got it for him. But being Poundland, it broke the same day. I put it up on top of his wardrobe. I said, "Tell you what, next time we go to Basildon, I'll get you another one." A couple of days later, I went to get him up out of bed, and he was sat on the floor playing with his Power Ranger. And I thought, oh, maybe I bought two of them, or he's playing with Brandon's one, or whatever. He went, "No, my friend fixed it for me," which was, yeah, okay, kind of weird. And at the time, we had a Rottweiler cross Alsatian called Wuzzer. We'd got him as a rescue dog. He's a big, chunky thing, muscular as anything. We had the stair gate at the bottom of the stairs, so the kids couldn't come up it. We had one at the top of the stairs, so when they was upstairs, they couldn't fall down it. And we had one at the front room door. I went to go out the one in the front room to check on the boys, and the dog started growling at me, and I was, oh shit, I'm about to get bitten. I was honestly thinking I was getting bitten. But then he turned his back to me, and he started walking towards the front door, and he was growling the whole time. So I thought, right, I'm going to go check the kids. He's calmed down. I'll go check the kids. Opened up the stair gate at the top of the stairs. He run down the stairs, stood in front of me. He was stood on these stairs, lower legs lower than the higher front legs, and he started growling at me. And I thought, oh, I'm a bit worried here. I'm a bit worried. He's either going to bite me or he's going to get down there and somehow get the kids. And as I was looking for a broom or something to hit him with, because I was thinking, I'm not going to get bitten by this dog. This black mass came from where the front door was, walked along the corridor, turned to the right, and came towards me and the staircase. And he went past me and started going down the staircase. The dog ran all the way down the stairs and stood growling at this black mass.
Nice.
It was more of a mist than it was an actual figure, but it was a black mist. And after that point, we started getting a lot of weird things. We went out one day, we went to Basildon, do a little bit of shopping, the four of us, came back, and when we walked into the house, the front room door had a kitchen knife stuck in it. We'd find needles with the pointed end upwards in the carpet. We'd be walking along, and we'd just suddenly stand on a needle. They're like tea, coffee jars and all that. We kept them on the windowsill, all side by side, but they'd all be stacked on top of each other. And it finally finished. Brandon and Kieran's mum, we had a walking cupboard. It was about 3 foot wide, about 12 foot long. We used to keep all the kids' like outdoor toys in there. She went in there to get something for one of the boys to play in the garden with. She was with her friend Tina. As they walked in there, as they picked the thing up and turned around to walk back out, a pair of garden shears got thrown at them, and then everything stopped. Unfortunately, they missed her, but never mind. But I don't know if I can class that as a shadow figure or not. Whereas the other situation that happened, as I was telling you before, I was on the sofa. Heidi was stood in the middle of the room talking to me, talking about something or whatever. I was trying to watch TV, and the sofa was like this side and end of the room. Window on the right hand side. We both saw a black shadow male, the size of it must have been male, come through the window. It walked across the room and literally walked straight through Heidi. She said she literally felt it walk through her. So, but there were two real personal experiences with what could potentially be shadow figures.
I remember once when I first got my son, I adopted him 15 years ago now. This month would be 15 years. So, and he's 22 now. So,
How does it
I
go?
remember
Diversity.
So I had him to the house in Palm Springs 4 weekends in a row. I had to wait till he got out of school. Then once he got out of school, then I'd get him full time. We didn't want to break anything up and whatever. So I'd drive him back on Sunday night back to his foster home. And then I'd pick him back up next Friday afternoon and right after school. In fact, I'd pick him up from school and off we'd go. He had a bunch of stuff at the house. He had clothes and stuff at the house and whatever. So we never had to really stop off other than telephone. Say, I'm picking him up. Okay. And that was it. But when I first got him permanently, July 11th, 2010, that was our, that's Gotcha Day. I took 2 weeks off from work and we just spent the whole 2 weeks running around doing whatever we wanted to go to the water park. We, go hiking, whatever we wanted to do. We just go do it. And I remember one night we were chasing each other around the house just because that's fun stuff to do. And he went around the corner and stopped and yelled, "Oh my God," like that. And I said, "Well, what did you see?" There's a guy standing there. What's he look like? I don't know. It's black. It's just a black shape. So he saw a shadow figure at the house. And then I'd never seen any in that house before. I'd never seen anything in that house before. It was like nothing paranormal at all. But he saw a shadow figure in there, and I don't know if they were responding just to the noise, the laughing, what was going on, because we were laughing our heads off. So, but
it could have been enough to have brought the vibrations up to get them to try and manifest.
Yeah.
That's
interesting. What was I was going to say with the incident in Stanford Hope? At the same time, it is quite well documented if you look it up on like Google or on YouTube. At the same time that happened, within probably 2 or 3 days of the same sort of incident started happening when it first started with us. There's a road called Abbott's Drive, and there was a series, I think it was 9 houses that started getting poltergeist activity all at the same time. And that was at the same, and we was, you used to have to come down Abbott's Drive, take a right, and we was just on the left. So, but yeah, there's around the same time, there was 9 houses, I think it was 9 houses. It might have been I think it was 9. Yeah. It's a long time ago. It's like 20 odd years ago. But yeah, it was interesting that at the same time, other people were getting incidents in the same sort of area. Linda, have you got any others? You said you found some online that you found interesting.
Well, I didn't find any that I thought were worth using online, but I've got another personal one.
Yeah, go for it.
Figures are usually more flat, aren't they? The ones I've seen are all flat. There's hardly any dimension to them.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the house I grew up in was funny. The bathroom door faced the staircase. So if you were up in the middle of the night to go to the loo, you would come downstairs to the loo. And coming down the stairs in the dark was absolutely fine. But the second you flush that toilet, everybody came running up the stairs like their ass was on fire.
Yeah.
Every single person who ever stayed over in our house. So this one night, I decided to try and be big and brave. I was a teenager at the time. And I left the lights off and I came out the bathroom. And I looked up and I saw this bloke shape stood there. And I knew it was far too thin to be my dad. And it was too old to be my younger brother. And I'm walking up the stairs slowly towards it. And I'm going, come on, I'm being brave. You be brave. Come and introduce yourself. blah, de blah. I'm absolutely bricking it at the time,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to look clean.
Yeah.
And I went up and it stayed there looking at me. And then when I got to the very top, it becomes something a wee bit more like this one that I've just put in.
Yep. Hold on.
And it stood
Ooh.
in the corner of the landing. Looking. And I'm like, again, teenager, but because it was like, I'm the only one that can see it. I knew mum couldn't see it. I knew my brother couldn't see it. My brother was getting attacked. My mum had already been attacked a few times too. So I went right up into the corner, big brave teenager, me, all 5'2" at the time. I'm like, I don't know who you are, what you want, but if you're going to stay there, I'm going to confine you to that corner.
Mm.
And I went back down to the kitchen and I put a ring of salt around that corner. So the only option was either stay there or disappear through the wall out into the street.
We did similar after the incident in Heidi's house. We done similar there. In the boys' bedroom. Obviously, I was living together at the time. In our bedroom, in the boys' bedroom, and in CJ's bedroom, we put obsidian.
Yeah. One of the other things this thing did, my brother had been not well. He was off school, high fever and all the rest of it, which is what we originally put this next story down to, the high fever. The way the room he was in fitted in between the houses, the bed was like in a recess that was like almost into next door. So, and he had his TV just on the outer edge of the recess so that he could literally just reach out and switch it off, you know, in the days before everybody had a remote. And he reached out, switched it off, and he says somebody went like that, grabbed his hand, and he's screaming, trying to pull his arm back, and it was holding him steady. Now, yeah, okay. At this point, he was like about 14, but he was 6 foot tall. So he's not like he's a weak little 14-year-old. And he's screaming the place down, and I dived out of bed and ran through his room. And when I walked into his room, his duvet was stood in the corner of the room, giving it this.
Duvets don't usually do that.
Not usually.
And he's sitting there curled up in a ball crying. He's like, is my face okay? Is my face okay? Is my face okay? Now at this point, he thought he was a cool teenager. So he had lots of goth pics on the wall, which I normally wouldn't attribute to this, but he's on the spectrum, and we know people that are on the spectrum easier manifest things than alleged normals. I say alleged normals because everybody's on the spectrum as far as I'm concerned. But he had a fire glow bulb in his bedroom, so I couldn't see if his face was okay or not. So I'm just like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And in the finish up, he took his the spare duvet through and slept on the floor in my mom's room. And I don't blame him. When we saw his face the following day, his face was completely covered in scratches, and that I mean covered, like been through a windscreen covered.
Christ.
But these scratches were smaller than a cat's claw. And that's when I started looking up how to do exorcisms. The following night, everybody's asleep. My brother's shouting and bawling in his sleep. Now, whether he's just having one of his night terrors or whether he's having another incident, I don't know. But I opened the door and he was soundo. And then a couple hours later, I heard footsteps go from his room to my mom's room. And I heard my mom shouting and bawling in her sleep. We all talk in our sleep, all three of us. I'm like, right, you bugger. I'm going to sort you out tomorrow. So the following evening, when we were all getting ready for bed, I was asking everybody what they thought was going on and blah, 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 blah. And nobody else had seen this thing. I was the only one that had seen it. So I'm pacing the floor with my little high school Gideon's Bible that everybody got when they went to high school back in the 80s. Pacing the floor with my Gideon Bible, reeling off all the names of every saint I could think of, and you don't belong here. You've no need to be here. Go away and pick on something your own size. Blah blah blah. And the thing appeared to me in the middle of the living room, but it was slightly different. Have you seen the movie The Haunted with the Smurl family?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one with Sally Kirkland.
Mm-hmm.
How the thing appears to Grandma.
Right.
And when they're at the picnic, you just get this shimmering black shape.
Yeah, a little darker in the middle and silvery, wiggly on the outside. Yeah.
So that's how this thing appeared in the middle of the living room to me. And I could see Mum was starting to feel unwell. Then Mum swoons, basically, onto the couch. She's still conscious, but she looks like she's fainted. And you can see she's getting upset because, a single parent and this weird stuff's happening to us. My brother's being a typical teenage bloke, effing and blinding, get the hell out of my house. I'm quoting bits and pieces of biblical stuff, saying the same without the swear words. And this thing passed through my mum as she was sat on the couch, appeared at the other end of the couch, and when I had a little cross that I had bought from Mont Saint Michel in Brittany, and I literally threw it at it. Get the hell out of my house. If anybody's going to be boss here, it's going to be me. You're leaving. And it went out the window. But when it went out the window, you actually heard like the window was shaking. And like I say, I was about 16. That's probably my first mini exorcism.
You know, the accent makes these stories even better. I just sit around, go, say some more.
But yeah, I mean, that thing, it was always in the house. Because, like, I remember when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I was seeing this thing stood at the top of the stairs. And it was always there. And the fact that even visitors to the house, without us telling them anything, they would run like hell up the stairs. But you know the bit that struck me the weirdest about this entire thing with that house? The mirror for the bathroom was on top of the toilet cistern. So effectively, you look in the mirror, you can see upstairs. The carpet in the mirror was an entirely different color.
Okay.
And that freaked me out for my entire childhood. And when I mentioned it to my mum, when I was about 15 and a bit, just before the big night, she actually went and looked and she noticed it and the mirror was taken down.
The stairs remind me, the house that we built in Alaska, there's a ghost story around that. I told it in a past episode or past podcast. But I was sitting here thinking about running up the stairs, and everybody, now there were two staircases in the basement. One led up to the living room. Between the kitchen and up to the living room and the kitchen, there's a door that sat there at the hallway between the two rooms. And the other one led to an outside door. So you can walk up the other one and go outside. But the other one ran up to a door and led outside. It was our mud room, our utility room, entrance for carrying stuff downstairs, whatever, for the storage room and all that. Lots of extra groceries, canned goods and stuff all went down into the pantry downstairs.
Yeah.
The long-term pantry. But we do that. And, I know that everybody that lived in the house and even visited the house would run up the stairs every time from there to the living room.
Yeah.
But nobody ever ran up the stairs from downstairs to the outside. There was never that urgency.
Yeah.
I mean, even my dad would go, I don't believe in any of this stuff. And he would run up those stairs every time, just like everybody else did.
Well, strange.
And the inside stairs going up to the next floor, nobody had ever run up those. Never even felt the urge. So it's that one staircase that led up from the basement. And there were 2 or 3 bedrooms downstairs. I don't remember. Bathroom. Yeah, there were 3 bedrooms downstairs. And then there was one on the next level up on the ground floor. And then there was mom and dad's room on the top floor. On the second floor up. And it was large. It took up like a third of the house upstairs. A big old room, a steam room, and a sauna, and a great big, I mean, it was really neat done. We built the house back in, started, I guess, in 1979 or 1980. But that one staircase, everybody would run up.
That's
and
weird.
The rest of them, never even felt the need. And the entrance or the first step of the outside one was only 15 feet away from the other. They ran opposite directions.
And the fact that your dad didn't believe in any of that sort of thing yet on that staircase,
I do, Steph.
He would run. Yeah, that's the thing that always made us laugh. I don't believe any of that. And then why you run up the stairs? I don't run up the stairs. You can hear him every time.
Yeah.
So, that was always fun.
I used to put it down to, I made up a little story to try and help me handle it a bit better when I was a kid. And it was like, there's a beastie lives in the front lobby. And when you flush the toilet, it wakes up the beastie and you've got to get up the stairs before the beastie does.
That's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah. I can't find it.
Because if you didn't flush the toilet, you didn't feel the urge to run. It was one of those strange things. So I don't know how much of it is psychological or what, but the fact that visitors to the house did it as well, as you say, it's like there must be something that people who don't believe in any of this stuff react the same way we do.
I think I found the one. So I just literally remembered a poem that is not directly about shadow people, but it is somewhat like. I'm just trying to find. Oh, here it is. Hughes Meehan, 1899. Yesterday upon the stairs, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish he'd go away. When I came home last night at 3, the man was waiting there for me. But when I looked around the hall, I couldn't see him there at all. Go away. Don't come back anymore. Go away. Please slam the door. Last night I saw upon the stair a little man that wasn't there.
Yep.
I was just sitting here and I just suddenly remembered it, but I couldn't remember the words.
There is another one. Remember, I mentioned Richard Jones the other week when we were talking about Sherlock.
Yeah.
Sherlock, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
So this one is one that he did. It's called The Ghost. I live in a house with no windows. A black curtain hangs on my door. The voices of conscience torment me. I live in a room with no floor. There's dirt in the corner that I can't see. There's water that runs down the wall. There's mice in the attic above me and rats playing games in the hall. I live in a house with no windows and sleep in a room with no heat. The darkness of life that surrounds me keeps out the sounds of the street. I wake when the shadows have fallen and walk when the memories cease, when purpose in life has no meaning and only the wicked find peace.
Ooh, I like that.
Each night you sense that I'm by you. You feel my breath as you sleep. You hear the faint creak of the floorboards as out from the shadows I creep. I live in a house with no windows. I live in a house that's now yours. It's my voice you think that you're hearing, for I died in this room with no doors.
Ooh. That's spooky.
I
I like that.
love that one.
I absolutely adore
I
that.
love Antigonish. I've known the Antigonish one since I was about 10.
Mm.
But I love Richard Jones's one as well. That's The Ghost by Richard Jones. So
Yeah, I really like that. And I've got one here. In corners where the lamplight fails, the shadow people glide. They whisper through the narrow cracks where walking fears reside. Their eyes, excuse me, sorry. Their eyes are just too deep of blacks that watch but never gleam. They linger at the edge of sight like fragments of a dream. They follow where the silence pulls with footsteps soft and thin, yet vanish when you dare to look as if they've never been. They gather when the moon is low to hum in hollow air, a chorus made of nothingness that chills you unaware. They never speak, they never touch, yet haunt your sleeping mind, for shadow people only live where frightened souls can't find.
mm-hmm.
And that's no one famous, that was literally just ChatGPT that came up with that. I was quite impressed with that, actually, ChatGPT. I quite like ChatGPT. But yeah, no, one of the most common things, because shadow people get mentioned in paranormal groups all the time, YouTube shorts, Facebook shorts, and all that all the time. And the thing that seems to be the most common is a lot of people seem to think that they're time travelers or from a different dimension. Seems to be the most common thread that's used. So, but I don't know if it's the morbid side of me or what, but I did look to see if there was any reports of supposed shadow people attacks and that, but I couldn't find a single one. And a few videos that I watched on it and said there's no reports of shadow people actually hurting anyone.
Yep. I don't think I've ever heard of a shadow person hurting anyone.
I've had one actually calling attention to a crime that wasn't known about at the time, but is now.
And I'm also wondering, you had many years ago, you had like obviously people I've never had it luckily, but sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Way back when you had the mares that people said were the demons that
and the hag and whatever else label you want.
I'm wondering if that's where the shadow people originated from.
I think that's a lot of sightings when you get the full account. A lot of them are like on the edge of sleep paralysis or just coming out of it when they see it. I mean, that's when I saw my hat man who had a hat like this on. Yeah. But that's like Jesus. From about 1979 to about 1984, I was seeing the hat man, and it was usually when I was ill, I was having difficulty breathing, full stop, upright and awake. And I kept having what nowadays I can look back on and say was similar to either sleep paralysis or sleep apnea even. And each time I saw this man with this hat in the doorway, but he never moved from the doorway. It was like he was keeping an eye on things. And eventually I would drift back to sleep or pass out. And then once I was unconscious, my throat would relax, the breathing would come back normally. So I do think a lot of them are from like what sleep paralysis does to your brain, where you totally feel there is somebody coming to you. But another example I heard of someone experiencing sleep paralysis and hearing somebody coming up the stairs towards their kid's room. He put forward the hypothesis that perhaps his body was in bed and his mind was astral traveling, and the footsteps coming up the stairs was his astral self coming back to bed to join the body.
That's similar to what I said towards the start of this stream.
Yeah.
Could it be possibly people that are not even intentionally astral traveling? Could it be just because I grew up in a spiritualist family, I was always told that for a brief amount of time, your spirit leaves your body anyway, whether you want it to or not.
Mhm.
So some shadow people be, as I previously said, people that are astral projecting.
Yeah.
Not even
And
necessarily astral.
you've just opened your eyes before your spirit has plugged back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly. It could yeah. I was about to say that. Could shadow people actually be you?
I don't know, because I see them mostly when I'm awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I bet there's a lot of people who astral travel without even knowing that they're astral traveling.
Yeah.
You know, they're asleep and zoom, off they go. They have a really lucid dream. It's because they're standing there in their astral traveling.
Yeah, that's why I'm really wondering if that is plausible. It's not I don't think it's ever going to be fully explained.
No, probably never.
Could it be? It could be a number of things. It could be mass hysteria. It could be a brief moment of psychosis. It could be a spirit. It could be absolutely anything.
I've got a story that led me to discover a crime that had basically been forgotten about.
Oh, yes.
Do tell.
Do tell.
I'm going down one of the little closes in town. Now, the closes in town, some of them literally you go like that and you get your elbows stuck. That's how narrow they are. And it's cobblestones, is this one. And I can hear stilettos coming down behind me. So I stepped off to the side so there would be room for her to come past me. I turned sideways so that whoever was coming down in stilettos could come past me, because I know how difficult it is to walk on cobblestones with stilettos.
So does Carl.
Yeah. She's right, Joe. It's difficult.
So I'm seeing the shadow of these feet and these legs come down the alleyway, but there's nobody to cast the shadow.
Okay.
And I'm stood there and I'm like, okay. And it gets level with me. And then the shadow falls. So like the toes come up off the ground and it's like it's being dragged with the heels. And I'm like, that's a bit odd. Not seen anything like that before. So nerdy me went to the archives. This, as I say, this was a long time ago, because anybody who's local to me knows our local archives burned down nearly 20 years ago. We're not supposed to have records in this area. And I found a note in the paper from late 1960s where a lady had been coming home from work back in the days when ladies all went to work in stilettos, back in the 50s and 60s. And she'd been attacked by what actually turned out to be one of her customers at the pub that she worked in. And he literally grabbed her in that alleyway, dragged her off, and did horrible things to her. She survived, but by all accounts, she was never the same lady again, which is understandable. Some people do take it like that. But it's one of these wee crimes where everybody was like, oh, I've never heard anything about that. Never heard anything about that. And it's like, well, it's outside of our lifetime. It was before I was born.
Yeah.
And when I've shown them excerpts from the paper, they're like, oh, that's really strange, you know. But apparently she was really outgoing, really cheery lady. And after this, she just completely shut down.
Understandable.
So, but yeah, it was just like, I don't know why she chose to make herself known to me. Unless she knew I'm OCD enough to go and look it up.
Maybe.
But I mean, the
other thing
I thought of as well is perhaps she recognized the same kind of emotions, because it was not long after I had been attacked at the time. So I don't know if it was like my emotions were bringing up, like giving off signals that brought her out to show me. So that.
I was going to check.
It's just one of them little oddities. It's the only time I've seen a proper shadow outside in the street.
Oh, I will quickly say apologies to people. Ian's not here because he's got to visit his mum who had an accident the other week, and I hope she's feeling better herself.
Yeah,
I know he's saying she's getting rather frustrated at the moment, not being able to get about. So,
see, that's the thing with us independent women. We make lousy patients.
But right, what are we going to go for next week? Or should we be cruel and get Ian to choose?
He's just going to say aliens.
But no, I wish Ian's mum a speedy recovery. So I know she's getting on a bit now, bless her. And as you get on, the bones don't heal as easily. So, and he was saying, I think it was last week, that she's getting annoyed that she can't go out and do a garden. Skinwalk is an interesting one. So,
Black Eyed Kids are good too. We've never really done that one.
Or we can leave. Or like I said, we can see if Ian wants to decide on next week's topic.
Ley lines.
Yep.
Oh, you could go on for days on that one.
Yeah.
Ley lines, as we know, from what I remember reading in one of the books I had, ley lines as we know them nowadays only came about 1929, I think it was, or 1939, when somebody was out for a ride on their horse and they noticed that all the churches all seem to be in the same line.
And then again, so is a lot of the big monument types, Stone Age monument types.
Mm.
They're all on the same lines and things like that. So ley lines have been around a lot longer.
And Stonehenge for 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Stonehenge is older than the pyramids, isn't it?
And Ring of Brodgar's older than Stonehenge.
Mm. And it's interesting that they now reckon that the stones from Stonehenge actually come from Wales, didn't they?
Yeah.
The big blue stones come from Wales. Some of the others have recently been proved to come from the north of Scotland.
Mm.
And of course, Ring of Brodgar's up in the islands. So
that's a long way. That's a lot of tree logs to roll a bit of stone on.
Even if you go round by sea, that's still a massive effort. But we do know that when they've excavated the post holes and stuff beneath, they have found seeds and pollen from plants that don't grow in England. They only grow in the Northern Isles and Caithness.
I know as well, there was a 30s or 40s. I know at least 2 of the stones at Stonehenge are relatively recent. They weren't put there until the 30s or the 40s.
Yeah, there's a lot of reconstruction done in the late 1800s in places like that.
There's the basilica up here in the city of Carcassonne, the old walled city. It's 1,000 years old. And I take my dowsing rods in there and they go crazy.
I can imagine. But it's been a brilliant one tonight. Overall, though, personal thoughts on what shadow people can be.
Yeah. I still stick with it's a spirit that either doesn't have the energy to show itself properly or feels the need to hide So
Incognito.
wants you to know it's there, but without knowing who it is, sort of thing.
What about you, Joe?
That's one of my favorites right there. But then again, it could be, I don't know, sneaking in from someplace else. Could be from another time. Could be from another dimension. And there's not enough energy there, between the two to show themselves. Could just be they're peeking in the best way they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with Linda's. That's much better than most of them I've heard.
That does seem the more plausible one. Hearing that one that you hear of the watchers in the Bible coming, but you never hear them leaving. That I don't believe that, but that definitely caught my attention when I heard that earlier.
Some of the Watcher stories remind me of the stories with the Anunnaki and I've forgotten the proper name. The half angel, half human giant.
Yeah.
Some of the Watcher stories remind me of them, and it's like, okay, is this the same thing that's just been multiply interpreted by different tribes?
Possibly. Well, I did have, while we was doing it, I did have a quick look. There's no actual direct mention in the Bible of shadow type people, but there is, like I said, there's some lines of thought that the mentions of shadow people come from before ancient Egyptian times.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, plausible, but I think I like Linda's explanation.
Yep.
It could well be, or the other one was that I thought of earlier was what I said was that it could possibly be a time slip trying to start, possibly. So, but no, it's been a fantastic one tonight, guys. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. We do these each week. Normally, we just take the piss out of each other and having a laugh, and it's just usually the four of us, just friends that absolutely love the paranormal. I've been doing it for a lot of years. So until next week, guys, we shall see you then.